So hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. So for today you can already guess that we're going to make this painting over here, and it is going to be a super detailed one, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of entirely making the whole painting from start to finish. So get ready with all your art materials, the watercolor paper, colors and brushes, and we are good to go, and let's get started with this tutorial, right? So everyone, getting started, the drawing is pretty easy, I would like to say. I'll just draw a tilted line somewhere from here. Maybe you can say from the 1/3 of this paper. I'll be starting to draw a tilted line like this. Okay, then it goes straight in this way, and then it points towards this side of the paper, almost near the center of it, in this way. Okay, try to keep the lines very straight. That is a very important step of this kind of painting. If you might use a scale, I don't prefer using a scale much, but you may use it. And two lines like this over here. Then I will almost go slightly below the center half of the paper, somewhere over here, like this, and like this. Okay, I will draw a line over here like this. Then I will extend the line slightly inside and then draw it in this way. And then you can say, if I divide the 1/3 of the paper into two equal halves, somewhere over here I am just ending the line in this form, and over here in this way, in a opposite tilt like this. Okay, so this is the basic shape of the first building. There is a second building also just by its side. So for the second building, I'll just initially make the basic structure in this way. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, and the ending portion like this. Like there are few stories of the building. Okay, and also I haven't made the upper half of the building, so that is something I'm going to do now. Like this, I'll just extend it in this way. Like this, I'll just extend it in this way. Then comes a line like this. Okay, I just extend it in this way. Then the next building from here like this. Okay, so this is the basic drawing lines that I need to do right now. After that, I'll need to go for the detailings. For the detailings, I'll just start from here like this, a line like this, then another one. I'll just make, I guess I'll just make 3 of them over here. So make sure this height is almost equal in all of this. That is a very important step over here. And I'll just make a small change over here, that maybe I will be erasing of this line, and I'll be starting this line maybe somewhere over here, slightly extended out. Okay, that looks better to me. And after that, I'll just go back to what I was doing, like equal lines like this, and on this side like this. Just to keep in mind, see, the angles of the line are slowly decreasing in this form. Okay, so this is the most angular one, this is lesser angular, this is more lesser angular, this is lesser angular, and this is almost straight. Okay, so that's how the angles decreases in terms of perspective. I'm not going into complex perspective over here, but just to let you know, this overall painting is in 2-point perspective. But I'm just trying to explain you in very beginner friendly terms of how you can make it simplified and you can just draw it very easily. I'm not explaining you the complex perfect perspective things and all of that over here. Okay, so over here I'll be going and maybe drawing out a few things in this way. There are some portions of the building. I'm just going into the detailings right now. So the detailings are a bit slow, we need to go for. See, these things can be done directly with the pen. I'm anyways going to use some pen after this, but since you all are getting started, I hope mostly this video will be viewed by beginners. So I just recommend all of you to start off with the pencils. I can right now do it directly with the pen, but I won't prefer to do it because I want all of you to move in the same pace along with me, so that you can be very sure about each and every step before you just color it. Because whenever we spoil a painting, sometimes it gets very much demotivated. So that's something I really don't wish for. So you better move in the way I am moving forward. I'm trying to show you in a very beginner friendly way. That's what I'm planning to do today. But be slow. Maybe I'm drawing a little fast, but you can always play and pause the video, so be a little slow. Okay, this much looks fine to me. I'll just add a balcony like thing over here. Then on the lower half, I'll be adding, like, there are a few shops on the road, so the upper section of the shops somewhat look like this. Here is the inside part. This way, nothing more to do with the pencil. This much of drawing with the pencil looks fine to me. I will just do the area where the people will be walking, the footwalk basically, in this way. Okay, and here we have the road. So now we can switch and shift to some fine liners. You can use any kind of fine liners. I would prefer to use the brushstroke ones. If you feel like getting the same art materials that I'm using a cold pressed paper 300 GSM or brushstroke. I'm using the brushstroke fine liner as well. So if you want to get this art materials at a discounted price and like a 10% discount, you might check out the links in the description box below. I have a coupon code for all of you. And if you're having any kind of questions, feel free to drop a question in the comment section below. I'll try to answer your question. Okay, so moving forward, I've taken up the fine liner like I was telling, and I'm trying to draw out the areas with the help of fine liner, and I'll be adding a little bit more detailing to these areas as well. Okay, the fine liner work can be done after the painting has been done, or you can do it before as well. Anything suits you the best. Okay, go for a slightly thicker tip fine liner, like 0.5 would be a fine one to get started with. Too much of thin tip is something I don't prefer much. Okay, you can see I'm giving multiple lines at certain areas like this and like this. Since this tutorial is on YouTube, you can always pause and play. Use that feature because that is a very important feature, because you can always pause and play and just give importance to even the minute detailings that you might miss out. Okay, don't need to rush too much. I am also not rushing. This is my normal speed in which I move forward. I don't like to rush either, because if I am rushing in a painting, I cannot focus on the detailings and stuff like that. So better go slow, better try to focus on the detailings, and your results are going to come up really nice. You can shift the fine liner sizes at times as well. Okay, so I'll just finish off these areas too. At some areas we just need one thin line, at some areas we need this kind of thicker lines and multiple lines, so it depends which areas you are doing it on. Okay, so I'll be coming to this side. Over here we need one single line like this. We have to add some finishing touches with the fine liners too once we finish off with the watercolor portions over here. So we'll be doing watercolor over these fine liners, and then once again add some finishing touches with the fine liners. So both the portions are important. The watercolor portions are also important. The fine liner portions are also important. Both are equally important, I would like to say. So over here I'm just doing the other building too over here. Fine liner portion, I don't think you will face a lot of difficulties with. Just don't try to go very swift like me. Try to go a little bit slower. Okay, it comes with practice. You will just get your own pace, whatever you are most comfortable with. Never rush. I am also not rushing. I am just going in my own pace, whichever I like the most. So you can say mostly it's like outlining the areas, very similar to outlining the areas. There are some places where I'm giving double lines like this, which is an important thing to do. Otherwise mostly it is outlining. Later on we have to do a little bit more than outlining at the end, but initially outlining would do fine. Okay, like this. You might be thinking I haven't added any doors and windows and everything. That I will do with the watercolor. That's why I have skipped it for now. So after outlining the areas, we are good to go with the watercolors right now. So right now I'm back with the watercolors. So what I'm going to do, I'll just take some cobalt blue color in my palette, and with some little bit of cobalt blue color in my palette, I'll be adding a little bit of sky over here like this, nice and smooth, like this. mostly on this side, just to create a variation in the sky, just to create a feeling of light and shadow. Okay, like this. And I'll just use some water on this side to just dilute the sky on this side, like this, with some water. Right now, starting off with the building, we'll be using initially some amount of this cobalt blue color in my palette. With that, I'll be mixing a little bit of crimson to get a slight purple kind of a tone. I'll just show it to you. I'll just take a crimson color from here. You can see the color mixture is changing. My palette is a little bit dirty, don't mind. Okay, so over here I keep on painting, so it gets dirty often. So over here I have the color mixture like this. So with this color mixture I'll be getting started, and I'll be starting off from here. Make sure you keep the light and shade very much intact from here, like this. You can see free flowing color, watery kind of a thing, like this. I'm moving forward. I'm not rushing, I'm trying to go slow so that you all can follow up with me. So this is the color that I'm applying. After that, what we can do, we can quickly shift the color to something else by mixing a little bit of burnt sienna over here. Okay, maybe I'll mix this color to the burnt sienna a little bit, and with this burnt sienna tone I'll just shift the color to something else over here. Okay, then I'll just normally use the burnt sienna color over here. The normal burnt sienna is not mixed with anything right now. Normal burnt sienna color, like this. So you can see 2-3 variations of the color in the same section of the building. That is something you have to achieve in order to get a nice output with your painting. Over here, the lower half, once again the repetition of the same color that we have used on the upper half on this side. Okay, like this. You can see a lot of variation on this side. Try to go slow while you are doing it. Try not to make a mistake over here. Try to see, pause and play the video, understand the process, and then start doing if you feel like. Okay, I will be doing this center part later because this portion is drying off right now. Instead, I'll go to this side. I'll take some yellow ochre color, yellow ochre over here. I'm also showing you my palette so that you can be double sure regarding the consistency of the color, how much water I am mixing, and all of these things. So I'm just taking some yellow ochre color right now. You can see the consistency is watery. So with this watery kind of a yellow ochre color, I'll be starting off and adding some tones over here on this side. Okay, like this. And the mixture is a bit watery, as I told all of you, and a little bit of burnt sienna on this side. I always like to mix 2-3 colors in a section of a building because that makes it very natural. So on this side yellow ochre, on this side a little bit of burnt sienna in an extreme watery form, so that you can hardly distinguish between the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre, you may say so. I added a little bit more of burnt sienna, but I need to blend it all with some water nicely. Okay, so by now this side has also dried off, this side has also dried off. It's time we can go back to the center part of the building. So for the center part of the building, I'll once again start off with the mixture of this blue and the crimson that we have been using. Looks something like this over here, the color mixture in a watery consistency once again. Now with this mixture I'll be starting from the upper section, like over here, like this, that being the first step. Then slowly I'll just extend the color on the lower half a little bit, like this. Then sudden change of color. Initially I'll be taking a little bit of burnt sienna, normal burnt sienna color, not mixed with anything, to start with. Try to keep a very watery form over here. Don't mix a very rigid kind of a mixture. Instead, try to keep it as much watery as possible, like this. Now that's not it, we have to add a little bit more of light and shadows. So what we need to do, we need to just quickly have some blue color mixed with the burnt sienna. Like I am already having this burnt sienna color over here. I'll be mixing a little bit of blue color, like the cobalt blue color, to this one, making the brown color or the burnt sienna color look a little bit more darker than the normal color. So right now with that color mixture, I just go over here and add a little bit of depth on this side, creating a contrast with this side of the building, and also the same thing happens on this side of the building as well. In this way, this much looks fine. I cannot keep the mixture that much rigid. Instead, what we need to do, we need to just dilute the mixture on both the sides, not covering up the normal burnt sienna color completely, but partially covering it up, forming a little bit of patches like we have in old buildings, that kind of stuff. This lower half needs to have some dark color, so I'll use this color that I mixed to cover up this lower section. To add variation, you might mix a little bit of bluish tones as well, like this. That is also an option. Adding variation is something which I really like in my paintings. It just makes them look very natural. So once again to the brown color. In this way. Now as this area is drying off, give it a break, take a minute of rest, let this area completely dried off, and once this area has completely dried off, we can move to the next step. So I'll just wait for a minute. I'll pause the video till then and come back once again once this area has completely dried off. Now that this area has completely dried off, I will take a little bit of vermilion color. I already have a little bit over here. So I'll take this vermilion color in a very watery way. You can already see the palette, I guess, in the video. I'm mixing the vermilion color over here in a watery form. With this mixture of the vermilion color, I'll be applying it over here in a very transparent form. You can see it's not a very dark mixture of vermilion, very light and transparent mixture of vermilion like this. I'll go one building at a time. I won't be going to the other building before finishing off with this one. This one needs a lot of more details to finish off basically right now. So I'll take the mixture of burnt sienna in my brush once again, and I'll be applying a little bit of tone over here for the shadows that we have in the building. Try to keep your hands very steady once you are doing this kind of painting, because that plays a very important role over here. And moving forward, like this. So right now you can easily understand the source of light is from this side and this side is dark. So after this we will go for the doors and windows, but before that I'll just give a little bit more detailings to these areas, like this, a little bit like this, and like this. Okay, that much looks fine to me. After this, coming for the doors and the windows, I cannot use that big size brush. It won't be preferable. Instead I'll use a small size brush like this one. These are brushstroke Kolinsky series brushes, so that is something you can really buy, which is a really nice brush to work with. For now I'll be mixing this cobalt blue color with a little bit of this vermilion over here, and we'll be getting a little bit dark version of a color which is somewhat very similar to purple, you can say so. So with this mixture over here on a small brush, we'll go for the doors and the windows. Try to keep it slightly watery, not too much. If you make it too much watery, it will be difficult for you to control. So this much amount of watery looks fine to me. Like this, and over here as well, like this. Placing the windows just below one another is a very important step. Try to do it, because usually that is what happens in case of buildings. So there are certain grammars that we cannot alter in this kind of paintings. Over here I will be making the windows slightly taller. Okay, try to keep your hands steady. That is also a very important step. After that, what we need to do, we need to go for the balconies and all of those things, but before that we'll go to this side and give some windows over here as well, like this, like this, then the upper section like this, Okay, and the lower section like this. You cannot always make the windows in the same way. If you make all the windows looking exactly the same, it will be very monotonous. On this side it might have a similar kind of a windows, but since the angles are changing, it will look different because we are getting the front view of the windows, but on this side we are just getting the side views of the windows. The windows looks a lot taller than we often see. That reason being that these are like old constructions, and where we have really tall kind of windows we used to have, I would like to say. This kind of, I'm initially doing the lines and then the other lines I'm going to finish off slowly. A little bit of lines over here. Nothing much to say over here, just a little bit of concentration is a very important thing I would like to say, and also having a nice brush control is a very important thing I'd like to say. These two things plays a very important role. Over here I'll just do some designs with the help of my brush like this. As you all know, the old buildings like this used to have a lot of designs and architecture. This kind of things used to happen like this. You can see the essence of the painting is coming up slowly as I am filling up the details over here. This side is not so much tilted, that's why you can see the windows much more clearly on this side compared to the other side of the building. So I'll just make one window on this side because we have only a little bit of space over here like this. And then coming to the upper portion, I have to add some detailings to this ones as well. This one I have already added the base color previously, so I can add the second layer of color. The others one I haven't added the base color yet. So firstly I will have to add the base color to them, only to this one to be specific. So a little bit of blue tone I'll be applying to this one. Since the light is falling from this side, I cannot apply any tones to these portions. Instead, I can do one thing, I can add a little bit of yellow ochre color to them as a base tone. We cannot use the dark color as a base tone for this one. So I will have to wait till these areas are drying off. I cannot do anything to that portion. I'll once again have to wait for a minute before I can add the detailings to the upper portion. Now that this portions has dried off, I can add the detailings like I was doing with the help of vermilion and the cobalt blue mixture. So the inner portions would be dark like this. And then over here like this. So you can do a lot more in this painting in the front half only. I would be restricting myself to certain extent for this one because I want to keep it a little bit on the beginner friendly side, but I will showing you a few more fine details that you might add. For example, drawing a line from this section would add some extra detail to your painting in this form. You can add a little bit of lines like this over here, all like this, okay, or on the upper side as well like this, just to give a feeling that you have done some kind of detailings which just adds value to your painting each and every time you do it. So maybe a little bit of line over here. Okay, these are very minute things to do, but the more you just keep on adding, the better it looks like. So hey everyone, I just jumped into the middle of your learning process just to announce something very exciting. My name is Ritu Bande. I am basically teaching you this painting right now, and I wanted to tell there is a whole detailed course coming up on the same topic, how to do architectural mixed media paintings. And the best part is it is at a early bird pre-registration offer right now. It is 16 live sessions stretched over a period of 2 months, so you can understand how detailed the course is going to be. So make sure you check out the links in the description box below, because the offer is ending really soon. So I hope to see all of you in my upcoming session. Without wasting any time, let's get back and finish off this painting right now. So right now I'll be taking the mixture of the same blue and the vermilion mix, and I'll be using it over here from this side, in this way, like this. Same for this one. These are very minor detailings, like I was telling all of you, but be careful while you are doing it, because they are very precise ones, so you need a lot of brush control to be specific with those areas, and it is very important to be very specific with those areas too. It had started raining very heavily over here, so you might get some noises in the videos. I am very sorry about that, but I can't really help it. So right now I'll be adding a little bit of lines on this side, and same thing over here in this form. On this side also I'll do the lines, but not with the same color. Instead I'll be taking a very light mixture of the burnt sienna like this, which will help me in drawing out the lines over here. And now the balcony. For the balcony, once again the same mixture of the blue and the vermilion, once again in a very dark manner, very similar to the purple mixture like I said. With that I will just make the designs in the balcony, starting from here, maybe like this. Very random strokes like this will help you in getting the essence, as if there is some design or something like that. Like this. Try to go for as much random lines as possible. On this side, since we have a lot of light, we have to use a little bit of lesser strokes in order to represent the designs, because what happens whenever we have a lot of light on certain section, the designs looks lighter in shade as well, and they look thinner in shade as well. So I'll just add the detailing like this over here. I would maybe slightly add a little bit of portions like this to make it more detailed. So as you can see, as we are moving forward, all this area is just popping up from the background, looking a lot more detailed. So we have to keep on adding detailings. Before that, over here I have to add a little bit more detailings. So I'll just go and take the vermilion color over here we already had. Right now it is mixed with a little bit of this blue color to make it slightly darker than the previous mixture that we are having. So after mixing it with the blue color, I'll just go for a little bit of light and shadow over here like this, in this form. Like this. And like this. Adding some lines with the darker color. Slightly a bit more like this. That much looks fine to me. And after that, I'll be adding a little bit of shadow that is needed on the lower base. But before we add the shadow, we have to do something about this whole road section, a base color. So I'll just adding a little bit of vermilion wash, vermilion and blue wash to the road section before I add the shadows and everything. So I've just applied a little bit of water. I had a little bit of remaining vermilion already in my brush. With that, I'll be taking a little bit of vermilion color from here and adding it over here in this way. Okay, and with that, with a little bit of blue color in my brush, I'll be adding a little bit of blue color from this side. They might mix up a little bit and form a color which is slightly on the purple side. That is also completely fine if you're getting that kind of a tone. Okay, now once again I'll just keep my brush and I'll wait for a little bit of time to get this area dried off before we can start off with the shadows over here for this building. So right now, as this portion is completely dried off, it's time that we add a little bit of shadows to this portion. So for that we will take up the colors once again, the colors being this time a little bit of this cobalt blue. With that I'll be mixing a little bit of crimson, not vermilion, a little bit of crimson this time, a little bit more, something like this is going to come up. And with this color I'll be mixing a little bit of burnt sienna, and with this color mixture that we have got right now will be the perfect mixture to start off with the shadow portions over here. Okay, in a watery consistency, the consistency plays a very vital role, so always try to go for a watery consistency. This lower half we are hardly having any kind of like lights falling, so instead we will try to apply a very dark tone over here in this way. And also I'll be trying to add a little bit of lines over here, and there are some like doors and whatever is inside. The first tone I'm just trying to apply over here. There will be another layer of depth after I have applied this one, but still I'm going to show a little bit of relief over here on one side, little bit of lines like this. Okay, as if there are some objects partly blurred out kind of a thing. After that, to this section I'll just extend out this depth in this way, as if it is flowing out from there in this form, and I'll extend the shadow in the way the light is falling from this side, so the shadow is falling on the opposite side. So this is something I guess you all can understand. In case if you face any difficulties in understanding any portion of my painting, then feel free to drop a message in the comment section below. I'll try to reply back to your message over there. I'll be taking a little bit more crimson to the overall mixture, making it slightly on the reddish side, and I'll just add a little bit depth over here to the shadow like this. Okay, so the light is striking from this side. On this side we have the shadows. We will have to do some kinds of depth to this portion as well, but we have to wait for a little bit until this portion has dried off. Till then what we can do, we can add a little bit of depth over here, which plays a very vital role, and a few lines over here like this as well. Okay, now going back to this building, we'll come back to this one, finish it off, but till then I'll just go back to this one, the other building over here. I'll just quickly apply some yellow ochre color to this building over here in a very light form. You can see it's very light. Because this building is far away from our eyes, this building doesn't needs a lot of detail. It just needs the minute amount of details that will make the scene look complete, I would like to say. Now I guess this portion has slightly dried off, so we can add some shadows on this portion. So for that, once again I'll take the three mixtures, like the mixture of blue, red and brown. Let me just mix the colors. So with the mixture I'll start by adding little amount of depth over here to start with. There's a shop or something like that over here, so that's what we are trying to do. Partly the areas are shaded, partly they are not, so that kind of effect we'll try to create over here. Like this. Okay, and to the areas I haven't added the dark tones, what we can do, we can slowly apply some water to keep the paints flowing on the lower half like this, making the entire lower region quite dark. I will apply a few lines once again after this portion has dried off. Let this portion dry off. Till then I'll just once again go back to this portion over here, and I'll take up the fine brush. With that, I will take up a little bit of burnt sienna color in my brush, and I'll try to do a minute detailings to this one, like for example adding the lines over here like this. Then I'll take up some blue color, like the normal cobalt blue color, and I'll be adding a little bit of color over here like this, a little bit of color over here like this, then a little bit of the windows like this. Here we'll be having a little bit of shadows, so a little bit of blue color would do its part over there. Make sure the color mixture is very light, that is a very important step. I won't do a lot of detailing into the windows on this side. Just one single line would be fine for doing the windows on this side like this. Okay. Nothing much to do, nothing much to say for this building on this side. Just try to make it as much less detailed as possible. That plays a very important role. If you make it too much detail, then your focus will shift from the primary building to the building on the back like this one, which we don't really want. Instead, we will try to keep it as much minimum as possible. Maybe at some areas you can give a second layer of tone like this to just depict the shadows that are falling. That much is fine. Or at some areas, if you feel like for a slight detailing, you can show a pavement like this. Okay. That much looks fine to me, nothing more I'll be doing. Add a little bit of shadow to the doors. That's it. We'll come back to this building right now once again. So coming back to this building right now, once again I'll mix up the same color. I'm not showing you the color mixture anymore. Once again, it is a mixture of this vermilion and cobalt blue with a little bit of brown in it. You might use crimson too, just the vermilion color gives a more dark kind of a tone. That's why for the extreme dark tones I prefer the vermilion color. Over here I'll make a few doors and windows in this way. Okay, on the extreme lower half. Like this. Don't ignore this part. Okay, this part is very much shady, I know, but do not ignore this part. Every portion of the painting has its importance, so do not hesitate or do not ignore any of the part. Try to finish it up in a nice way. Try to give details to each and every portions. I'll be adding a little bit of shadows like I was adding in the previous stone like this to the lower half of the shop, as if there are some shadows over here in this way. Okay, you can see it just gave a whole new effect to the painting. Over here I'll just have to add a little bit of more depth because it is the turning point of the building, that's why. On this side it will be more shaded in this way. Now what we can do, we need to do a little bit of humans over here that we can add a little bit of maybe we can take a little bit of red color like the vermilion one, and in a quite dry form I would just prefer to do that, and maybe I can add a little bit of stroke like this, then the darker version of the color, then a stroke like this on the lower half, then the head, and then the hand or something. Okay, in a very simple way. Okay, don't need to, because we can see the human figure from a very far away distance, so we cannot do it in a very detailed way. That is something that won't be needed. Instead you have to do it in a most simplest form that is possible. You will also take the blue color, apply it like this, the head and then the leg like this. Just the essence of the human figure should come up. It shouldn't look like that it's a super detailed version of a human figure or something like that. That's something we won't prefer. A little bit of shadows, if you add it to it in this way, it will look even more realistic. And along with that we can add a little bit of extra detailings. These are just add-ons that I am adding right now. It is not necessary to add them, but if you can add them, it is a nice thing to do. For example, we have a shop over here. We can add a little bit of maybe the name of the shop is written, something like this. We can just add on. In this way, just a minor detailing that you can add on. The next thing you can add on is maybe a post, the light post over here. Okay, like this. You can see very minute detailings just adds value to your painting. They don't have much importance. If you even don't do it, nobody is going to notice, but if you do them, it will look more detailed. That's it. Okay, so this much amount of detail looks fine with the watercolors. I'll once again go back to the fine liners to add a few more strokes to make the painting look even more better. That will be the finishing portion of the painting. For that, I'll have to wait for another minute to get the entire area dried off. So I'll be waiting for a minute for all of you to follow up to the step. I'll just pause the video. I'll be adding a little bit of a portion of the door or window that is visible from the other side. Okay, like this. Now I'll just wait. So now that this portion has dried off, I'll just add a few more detailings with the help of the fine liner. The fine liner is a nice thing to get more and more detailings. For example, the windows over here we can do in a much more detailed way, adding a little bit of depth with the fine liner, which we cannot do with the brush. So this is where the fine liners comes into play for getting more and more detailed kind of output. So I'm just doing the finishing touches like this. I won't cover up the entire space with the fine liner lines, just a few areas maybe. It is very easy to do detailing with the fine liner, and along with the watercolor it just does awesome. See, a lot of more detailing we can add, maybe a little bit over here, a little bit over here, adding some textures, adding some lines. It will make your painting feel a lot more detailed than whatever you have made with the watercolor. So that's why I just combine these two things. And you all already know right now that I'm coming up with a new course, and it is at a pre-registration offer right now, and it is covering just this kind of things, the fine liner and watercolor, mixed media paintings, and different kind of architectural buildings will be covered over there. Detailed perspective study will be covered over there. So all these things will be covered in that course. So if you want to know this kind of paintings, know this kind of painting process in a very detailed way, also the perspective and the architectural things, how you can just form this kind of buildings and how you can just draw them in a very detailed way, then you can just join the course. It is for a limited time, it is for the pre-registration offer is available, so make sure you just grab the offer before it's gone. So I'm just adding a few more finishing touches. A little bit of touch is also needed to this building as well. I cannot ignore it completely. I'm slightly ignoring it, but not completely. A little bit is needed. This much looks fine to me. This much looks fine. I'm not doing much to the human figure. That is not much necessary. I don't feel the need. Here I'll just draw some lines. Here this one needs a little bit of line. Okay. See, as I'm adding the strokes with the help of this fine liner, the overall painting is getting more and more detailed. Especially these balcony portions are my favorite to do with the fine liners, like this. And then I'll just draw the upper line once again like this. So that's it. I guess I'm not making it too much detail. As a beginner friendly level, this much is fine for all of you, I guess so. If you face any difficulties, drop in a text in the comment section below. I'll just answer all your doubts and questions, no need to worry. That's it for today. I'll just quickly remove off the masking tape and show you how the painting looks right now. So slowly I'm removing off the masking tape. Be a little careful whenever you are removing masking tapes, because it might harm your paper. Try to remove it away from the paper and go a little slow while you are removing the masking tape because it may harm your paper, and if you have done a nice painting and it gets damaged at the last point, it feels very bad. So that is how the painting looks like right now. That's it for today, everyone. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Drop in a like, share with your friends, do subscribe to our channel for more such exciting videos.